and we have our second guest live with us, joining us, Jesse Lopez with the Plant Channel, and also so many other endeavors and projects and and different things in the cannabis industry. And more of an OG than myself. It's a guy that I hope and strive to learn from. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and thank you everybody for having me. It is absolutely an honor to be on this radio broadcast and be a part of everything that's been going on. As you said, I have numerous endeavors, and I have been a part of this industry for several years, and finally deciding to go ahead and be a part of the media outlets. And just want to thank you very much for doing the interview with me and giving me an opportunity to talk about some of the stuff that we have going on in the movement.
Well, definitely. And you know what? Oh, we don't have your video. Will you grace us with your grill? And
yeah, let me see. I'm not the best at this whole.
It's all good. It's all good. Not everybody uses Skype, and it's got its cool points and it's got its weird points to it. But yeah, it should be like a little dealy on there.
Got it.
I'm not sure.
No, not yet. Are you using a laptop computer or a cell phone, Jesse?
I'm on a. This is a. Let's see. How's that?
Sounds like he's getting microwaved.
We need elevator music. It's like
making a fun. Oh, I'm trying to contact. Okay.
Playing some Alain Gorgo. I can't even say his name because he's French, Rob. But it's called Rocket Man.
You know what? I can't seem to pull up my video. It's making me call you if I want to pull up video. So maybe we reached out to each other on the wrong.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, he has a stately profile, solid gaze, and
I'm a rather large guy. I've been around for quite some time. I've a big bald guy. You see me at a lot of the events, and sometimes I'm up on the stage talking about legislation. One of the things that you guys brought up was the state of Florida. I helped out immensely with that legislation, and it was quite a big heartbreak to see that we failed upon it by those 2% margin. But that is one of the best states. I know you guys were saying that there's some kind of energy that's drawing you there, and I think that that's because the people of Florida truly embody the sense of what the cannabis community is. There's a lot of the talk of that word community that gets thrown around in this industry, but for the most part, community means people that are there for one another, and that's one of the very few organizations that's out there doing stuff in that part of the country for the moms as well as for the children, because we have to give it up for those moms for putting their neck on the line. And moving state to state like that cannot be easy to help find the best life for your child and what they're going through. So my hat's off to the whole state of Florida and the movement with the veterans, with the moms, and with every patient all alike to make that a state that can be not only medical and time recreational, but the synergy that comes from there is entirely what we want to showcase as the cannabis industry. They're looking for medicine. They're not looking for dab parties, and that's what this industry really needs to focus in on. When we call it medication, we have to make it medication. When was the last time you went to a party that people were smoking Percocets? If you did, that's called a heroin party and you're a drug addict.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we embody this community. We also have to make it professionalized. We have to be there for the mothers and the fathers who have these children that are being ridiculed daily for their choice in giving their children cannabis as their medicine, and we have to be that community that backs them, and the state of Florida really embodies that. And I wish that maybe some of the other states can take a step back and say, wow, look at what they're doing down there, and we should mimic that and definitely mirror it to what our standards are for our state.
Well, I mean, and I wouldn't say that I would call what you guys did down there a failure. I mean, it was a message. It was a statement to see that it got so close. And that's something that when it does finally, look at Oregon. Oregon barely missed it. That was a heartbreak too, and then they turn around and now they've got it, and it's just kicked in. The revenue that they're creating, the data that's coming out of there is just more weight to crush prohibition. More the more data. I always tell people it's like weight. The more scientific study that research that comes out, the more history that comes out, the more testimonials and current, just change in policy and public opinion. All of that piles up, and eventually is just too heavy for prohibitionists to bear that weight. So I feel like there was some success there at least, and going forward, seeing patients not having to move states, not having to give up everything, or take the risk to get low quality medication or medicine, excuse me, is very, very important. And like I myself do tend to enjoy the recreational aspect and grew up enjoying the recreational aspect, but I think it's absolutely unimportant when it's compared to the environmental, the medical and the nutritional aspects of the plant, and that's where the attention's really going to shift to. There'll always be a little giggle, under our breath about the plant, but the real substance and the real meat and potatoes is seeing these patients get the relief and seeing people turn this into a resource that can change their economy.
And you hit the nail on the head perfectly by saying that as the research starts to compile, the histories are coming out, and the actual true data about the cannabis plant is delivered to the public, we then start to have this powerful movement of people who know what they're talking about. Right now, a lot of the individuals just know they like pot. But they don't realize that, like, when we initiate words like medical cups and we're saying that this party environment is a medical cup, well, where are the doctors with the coats, and where's the cancer testimonials and all that? We need to really show what the industry is about. Recreation is absolutely one of my favorite things to do, is smoke a fatty or come home and take a bunch of rips on my bong or dab it out. But at the same time, we have to remember that when we talk about cannabis, that's what people are seeing in the image, instead of the little boys and girls who are out there suffering day in and day out. I've seen it myself from children that we've taken that had to wear literally bicycle helmets every single part of the day, to now walking around in their own backyard playing fetch with their dogs. So the ability to change the mentality is there. We just have to start showcasing it the right way and step back from the party aspect, because yes, it's fun, yes, it's enjoyable, we all love to just relax with a fatty, but at the same time, when we're trying to get the message across to the non-believers, we have to think like the non-believers and help them see it transparently. And that's where a lot of the flack in the industry is kind of going back and forth. And I think a lot of people are growing up as the time goes on and seeing the reality of the industry and not just the perception of it.
Yeah.
And we're on that movement. So it's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot to go over when you're talking about how the culture is going away from taboo and kind of butting into mainstream, and you're seeing cautious steps from people who are on the outside of it. Okay, here's another example where you have this crazy synthetic crap that's still going around, and this is one of the stories that I wanted to go over with you tonight, and it always just rears its ugly head when we're on the show, is a story about synthetics and what they've been doing. So in Oklahoma, don't get me started on Oklahoma. I'm not going to get distracted from this story. Okay, so Tulsa police on Thursday searched for the suppliers of a batch of synthetic marijuana that has sent at least 24 people to hospitals this week in what state's narcotics officials said was the most unusual cluster of likely overdoses resulting from the substance in Oklahoma. 3 men have been arrested since 9 people got sick outside a downtown soup kitchen on Tuesday. One of the men worked at an East Tulsa convenience store that allegedly sold some of the drugs. Paramedics responded Thursday to at least 2 more cases, leading authorities to believe that more of the batch may still be in circulation. So, and then they're thinking that it was basically similar to K2 is what they're saying, which was it looks like herby, like stuff, like weird colored stuff, and
the different spice blends that they put together to get people feeling at least like they're intoxicated off some form of cannabis. That's such a horrible epidemic that's been going on for numerous years. One of my buddies was a part of the military, and he was in the Navy out in Mississippi, and they literally had to like go through the military and start telling people that they were going to like let you go if they caught you on this stuff, and it was becoming an issue with numerous people's jobs. And these batches are not a primary blend of known herbs and spices that they put together. It's just a bunch of things that they whip together and go, okay, that kind of works, let's sell it. Well, if you take a hit of it, one hit, it may give you a little bit of lightheaded feeling and you see some spots here or there. You take 10 hits or you smoke a big fat blunt of it, now all of a sudden you're in full-blown hallucination because you've intoxicated your body with nothing like THC, CBD, or any of the cannabinoids that exist. Yeah. You're just hurting your brain and the sensors that emit the different chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. And as that's happening, you're also utilizing different parts of the brain that are reacting to other chemicals. And as that happens, a lot of these individuals who may have variations of psychosis, the psychosis goes into full-fledged at that point. And the chemistry in the body is trying to reject the drug, but at the same time, the drug has already taken its damage and is affecting the brain. And so if we don't deliver the actual science about what these things are and show people scientific evidence of what they do to you, we're not going to ever really get anywhere with this. And this has been a battle with numerous states. Utah banned 2012 and then lifted the ban in 2014. We've had it in California on the docket numerous times. It's been through so many states, but yet where's the Fed stepping in and saying, you know what, these blends of herbs and spices that are being sold inside of a smoke shop raises a strange eyebrow. And that's what we really need to point the finger and look towards is the federal government. When do you step in and when do you say as the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that this is a hardcore narcotic style synthetic that is doing way more harm than the variation of the narcotic that it's being synthesized to, which would be cannabis. We've had numerous cases where people have done weird things, like a guy out of Alberta in Canada smoked some spice and he took his child and threw it off the second-story balcony of their apartment complex. This is also the same guy who, when everybody was asked about this situation, they said, oh my, he was the most nicest, perfect person in the world. Well, it turns out that he has variations of bipolar, and they came out to full swing that day he smoked that spice. So it's a huge topic that really needs to be brought to light. I know people talk about it here and there. You'll see a local news syndication publicizing about it and putting it on their program, but we never really see senators or any of the Congress stepping in and saying, we need to stop this. It's always the concerned citizens of somebody who's already had a child get thrown off of a second balcony, or even worse, a fatal injury that we could have prevented by looking at these herbs and saying, wow, they're trying to mimic cannabis. Let's go ahead and give them what they want, and let's illegalize these things. Because when we leave it to the State Department, all we're doing is allowing it to still be sold in our neighboring state and the state after that. And we all know somebody who's driving through and can pick something up for one of our kids, and that's the scary part about it. So I really do that's a very important topic to bring up, and I really think that it's something that needs to be brought to light more.
But it reminds me, it almost makes me think of like bath salts and stuff like that. And it's like, come on, guys, like you want to get your relief. You have a natural solution to that here, that happens to also do all these amazing other things. And it's just the list, of course, of benefits grows, and yet nobody's eating anybody's face off. Nobody's throwing babies out of windows. And it's one of these things where how much is it going to take? And I feel like, Mo was saying in the first half of the show that there are cracks forming, like in the federal level, and you see like the DEA petitioning the FDA to review the status of cannabis. You hear about when Eric Holder scolded the head of the DEA, and then of course now what the House has done, what the Congress has done to make it to where there's not going to be any meddling by the federal government in legal states. Of course, you can argue that they still are kind of, but it's getting a lot. And forfeit or asset forfeiture. There's that's a huge thing. Where police departments are just rolling in it because they're taking everybody's stuff when they do these raids.
That's one of those topics that strikes a chord with me because, unfortunately, before this industry existed, I existed, and I existed on the opposite side, which was called the illegal side of this industry. And there were numerous times where maybe a raid happened or something of these types, and I'm not proud of those moments in my life by any means. But when those situations occurred, I lost numerous items that belonged to me, and it's very awkward to know that my cars are now being utilized as things like undercover vehicles, and being given to the other parts of the force that do things like detective work and go drop off tickets to individuals who haven't paid child support and stuff like that. And that's really unfair for the government to seize assets over that somehow don't even apply to the law that they're seizing. There was no proof in any of my cases. In fact, a lot of the cases that I had, the evidence was admissible, so we ended up winning the majority of my cases. And as a result of those wins, I never got any of my stuff back, because before that happened, these forfeiture laws give you like 30-something days to reclaim your property. But yet your belongings sit there, and it takes over 45 days to even submit the paperwork. So where in the bureaucratic, world does that make sense that we have 30 days, but it takes 45 to file? And nobody brings those things to light. I've had to go through that. I had a truck that was confiscated from me, and it was only like 2 years old. I had, paid it off, and it was my little baby. So I figured, I'll go after this truck. Well, the headache that came with it, the frustration that went with it, was nowhere near was worth anything, because at the end of the day, I never received my truck back or any of my belongings. I lost a boat and a few other things. Yeah. Let me ask you this much. What does a Tucson police officer need with a boat? We have no water for miles around my city. We are smack dab in the middle of the desert, and they seized my boat, and it was part of the forfeiture law. So I don't understand how some of this stuff can even go into play when it's blatantly theft. If I was to go into somebody's house and go, oh, well, you did a illegal thing, so I'm going to take this, that's called blackmail, and it's also called extortion. It is what it is, and
I'm going to sell it. Yeah. Because they have auctions. So it's like, here, I'll take that and make some money off it.
Exactly. And we're going to buy a tank with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, we're going to get some military surplus tracked vehicles for your local harvest festival. So, yeah.
And all of this went down for pot. One of the ladies, Paula Huff, back in 2011, had 11 non-budding plants in her home here in Tucson, where I live. And somebody gave wind to the police. I don't know who it was. We assumed that it was part of the apartment complex that she was living in. The tallest plant that she had, and they were all in vegetation state, were all under 2 feet tall. And this woman, in her mid-40s, ended up having to go do a year of jail time with actual hardened criminals. I mean, I used to talk to her frequently, and when she got out, we've lost touch over the last year because I've been extremely busy. But, having to get back on your feet from losing that type of stuff. And then not only that, she was evicted from her home. And that's an eviction that goes on your permanent record over cannabis. But yet, if you're found abusing a child or doing other things, they kind of turn a blind eye. And it's very shocking to know that our society is constantly in fear of the boogeyman that the media and government and all the other outlets that are out there have created, but yet they're the true boogeyman. They're constantly approving things like GMOs that are hurting all the children across America, because some of the schools utilize these GMOs because companies get a taxation write-off by giving these schools discounted prices. And we don't even realize it as parents when we wake up and we send our child to school that half of their lunch is GMO filled, and yet they come home and we may shop at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and we promote that we have this good life for our child. But they're still intaking some garbage from the one place that we think is the safest spot on the world for them. And so it's time for America to really backtrack. I think with Bernie Sanders on his crazy rampage, really bringing stuff out to light. We had some people in the past, Ron Paul and Ralph Nader, that were very similar in bringing out a lot of the issues to light. But we need to not just talk about them. There needs to be plans of action, whether these guys get elected or not. Those plans that they talk about in their campaign still need to be fully activated, regardless of if they get elected or not. Some of these individuals come up with some of the best plans possible that we could be utilizing, and then they lose the election, and it's fuck everybody. I'm going to go ahead and take this stuff and not give it to the good of the people. And that needs to stop. Another thing that I'm having a real big problem with, and I think a lot of other people do too, is the money in politics. It's unfair for us citizens who work day-to-day jobs to assume that we're ever going to gain any power when we got big-time billionaires tossing around money like it's another regular day to them. But we're the ones suffering. Children across America, the literacy rate, the graduation rate. I don't even know if anybody's even started to talk about that recently, but the amount of people that actually succeed in this country is so minute compared to the way it was 15, 20 years ago. We need to bring those numbers back. And it's shocking that we continue to just kind of turn the blind eye.
Well, we need to really be putting our money into making sure that we fill these huge prisons. We're building them, and so you have all these beds. What are we going to use these beds for?
That's right. We need a bigger military. That's all.
More bombs. Come on, Jesse. What are you thinking, man? Unfortunately, I remember seeing a statistic that said that you could take one of the wars. And this was, I think I read the statistic back a couple years ago when we were in, I think there were like 7 active, what I would call wars. Now, people want to dispute what a war is or isn't, but I think like if you're flying an airplane with missiles and bombs and you're shooting those at people and killing them, and those people might or might not have guns, that's pretty warlike. Or if there's people shooting at each other, it's warlike.
Yeah. Absolutely warlike either way.
Yeah, so you could take one of those, apparently they were saying, and you could feed everybody in the world. And the outrage continues, the embarrassment continues, as I said before, because at first I'm angry, and then it kind of moves to this, man, it's just so embarrassing, and then that changes from that to I feel this sense of responsibility and initiative. And it's not about being a great person or a good person, it's being normal. And I think it's normal for us to want to look out for each other. I was, when I was on the Just Love radio show with Kip Baldwin, we were talking about this. It's do what feels right, and I think for the most part it should feel right for us to work together and to sustain one another, because we rely on one another and we are all connected. And as much as I want to keep it rolling too, we have burned through our time and we are at the end of the show. So we gotta say sayonara for now. But Jesse, we gotta have you back on again. And we were gonna try to do an overlap so we could have you and Mo on at the same time, but we had her on the phone, and we had you on Skype, so because she couldn't muster the Skype, so we couldn't do it then. But I think it would be nice, actually, because y'all were both separately such amazing guests, to have you guys as a panel also up in the future. So definitely get you on again soon. We didn't even really get to talk about as much stuff as I want to talk about, so I need to have you on for a full hour also.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about the advancements in hemp that we have going on, the actual industrial industry, and the different things that are going on worldwide. So maybe we can take some time and really focus in on that.
Absolutely. And until then, can you give us a plug-a-rooski? Where are people going to find out what you're doing?
I'm a very hard person to find out, but I do have a bunch of projects out there. One of them is Buddha Kush coffee, water. It's a CBD infused water. It tastes just like water. It has 15 milligrams in it. Buddha Kush is on Instagram. Unfortunately, we do have a website that's up and running, but we have not put up our PayPal and everything for that. So if anybody needs to get a hold of me, look me up. You can email me at jesselopezhere@gmail.com or check me out on Instagram. My Instagram is down, but my assistant checks it out. It's retired weed guy. So check me out. We have a bunch of other things like the Plant Channel. So if you guys have an opportunity, go to theplantchannel.com, see what's happening right now actively. We actually have a banner at the bottom that tells you currently what's happening in the cannabis community. So please check it out and see some of the videos that are on there.
Go to theplantchannel.com. We have some really cool collab news to announce about the Plant Channel in the future, which like I said, we need a whole show to go over everything. So in the meantime, check them out. Check that out. And Buddha Kush, that sounds actually really, really cool. I'm going to check that out myself after I hang up. So everybody have a good night. Jesse, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Get a hold of me, and I will send you some samples out. Thank you guys for having me. Have a great evening.
Oh, you guys heard it. I get some samples of Buddha Kush. Okay. I'm not going to get worked up because I'm going to knock the microphone over. Everybody have a good night, and thank you for tuning in to the Zadal's Entertainment Network. And make sure you check out some of the other shows like The Hangover Takeover, ZNY, and quite frankly, y'all have a good night. Peace.